Welcome back to the garage. Now hold on a moment, hold on, before you click off the video. You see, YouTube sends me graphs all the time, and it seems like anytime I talk in front of the camera, people abandon ship on these videos, so I guess my voice is annoying.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
It's not good to start off a video with talking, but I just have to take a moment to explain and admit how dumb I can be sometimes. You see, yesterday was a holiday, and I was lucky enough to be off work. I woke up early, and I decided to strip this Jeep down to the chassis that you see, and I was pretty excited because I had some new camera equipment to try out. I have a tripod here that the camera's sitting on right now, but I can't really get close to some of the stuff that I'm taking apart. So I bought a new swivel mount where I can get close and show you a better view of taking something apart. So I came out here early in the morning. I got some action shots of starting my air compressor and having the camera up close to the gauge whenever it's building pressure. Then I take my air tank down and air up this rear tire. I get the frame and the body when it was all together, rolled into the garage with my Bobcat, and the weather was starting to get a little bit warmer. So I thought, well, I'll stop right here and I'll run to town real quick and I'll get something to drink. Round trip, probably less than 7 minutes. I ran to my local gas station, I got a Powerade, I came back here, and I came back out into the garage, turned the camera on, and I looked at the file up in the corner. It showed that there was some memory used. So I thought, well, I must have not cleared the SD card from the other day, and I deleted all that footage. And the even dumber part about all this is, it's not like I hit the button to delete it and then immediately realized what I'd done. I wiped all that footage from about an hour and a half of being out here already, so I didn't even pay any attention until late that night when I got done filming, and you can see where I stopped. I went through all the footage and I thought, where did that go? I was surprised. I thought it somehow got lost in file transfer, and then I realized about the time I laid down in bed that it was my stupid mistake. So I just wanted to explain what's going on. This video will start when I've already got the Jeep in the garage and I'm talking about cleaning it out and what I plan on doing to it. So it'll be kind of a, I don't know, advanced introduction to the video, nothing showing me getting it in the garage or anything like that. So before I start talking too much, hopefully you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the parts of video that I remembered to not delete. This Jeep's been sitting for a few months now, so the first order of business is to clean this tub out. Now I've got the radiator support and both front fenders sitting in the floorboards here. I don't know if I mentioned in a previous video or not, but I did track down 4 of the narrow, I guess you would call them factory Jeep rims that would be on this vehicle of this era. I put on some rollers that are off of a Ford F-150, and the wheels that are on it right now are just meant to roll it around. They're actually a little bit too wide for it. So I got 4 of the wheels that it needs in the back, but I need to clean all of this out so I can get better access to the body mount bolts. The tub is mostly cleaned out. I just wanted to show you, I really need to quit doing this. I said I need to clean out the floorboard area. Yeah, if you've been around my channel long enough, you'll realize most of my projects don't have floorboards anymore. But most of this is cleaned out. I've got to get the fan out of here. There's a few miscellaneous pieces like the generator. And just as I suspected, this was sitting outside for a while, and you can see there was a big chunk of filler that fell off of this body already. So I don't really want to go too in depth with this body because there's probably not much left of it aside from filler, but that's to be expected with something like this. The tub's cleaned out. You can see all the leaves here. I didn't even have to get a dustpan on the inside because of this convenient floorboard delete. You might be wondering, it seems kind of redundant to clean it out, even though I'm taking the body off of here. I just wanted to mention, these bolts for the body mounts are probably not going to give up without a fight, so I didn't want to have to get my plasma cutter or torch and have to worry about something catching fire while it's inside the garage. Next order of business is to get in here and just basically hack the wiring out of it. Now, the wiring was eaten up by rodents long before this ever came into my possession, but you can see there's coating just completely gone on just about every one of these wires. One or two of them were in here. They were probably run later. That's why they're in a little bit better shape. I'll also, while I'm at it, go ahead and get these spark plug wires out of the way. They were brand new whenever I got this running, so I can always use them on something else, or I can keep them if I find another Jeep to put this engine into. I've got a good coil up here and a good starter solenoid that I never even used, so all of this stuff can be taken and used on something else, but let's get this wiring out of the way. Gotta break out the larger cutters here. Most of these pieces of wire are just crumbling before I can even cut them with the cutters because they're so chewed up. Now the choke cable, I need to remove it. Well, that's easy enough. I didn't even hook it back up. So let me just push it through the firewall. Just about got it removed. I'll cover the intake a little bit better. I just want to make sure this is out of here in case I lift the body. I don't want this, since it's up higher, to get contacted by the body and break it. So don't forget the gasket. I've got the carburetor removed and there's a rag in the intake so nothing can fall down inside while I'm working on this Jeep. I need to get the steering unhooked. You can see on the bottom side of the firewall there's these 4 fasteners with washers that are easily accessible, but I'm probably going to have to take it apart right here and forward because, well, let me just show you what I've got on the inside. On the inside, you can see that I still have to do something with the shifter rods that come up through the floor, and I also need to get these pedals out of the way. But instead of the previous owner installing this column with some hex-headed bolts, they are some flat-headed screws. So I don't think those are going to give up without a fight, so it's time to go outside and try to remove it on the outside of the Jeep. It's actually moving. I cannot believe my eyes. That one moved too. Kind of unbelievable. I'm sure my hands were blocking that, which is nice. Well, I'm not sure how they had that column hooked together, but it's not supposed to pull apart like that, so at least it's out of the way. I guess the inside shaft was just sitting in there and you could pull it forward. May have been able to do that before I even removed that set screw, but at least it's out of the way. I know I'm not an expert by any means, but you see something like this, it makes you wonder. Some people should probably not work on vehicles, because even though that was hooked up down there, somebody could have got in here while they were driving and still pulled this apart, and you would have lost your steering. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a good recipe. After working on a lot of the off-camera projects that have kept me from doing videos, it's nice to just grab a 1/2 inch or a 9/16 wrench or socket to take something completely apart. No need to dig in the other toolbox for the metric ones. That bolt moved, but as some of you know that work on stuff yourself, this one's easily accessible. This one's harder to get to, so I'm sure that one's going to throw a fit, give me a hard time. Had to get a shallow socket for this one, so let's see if it moves. So far, so good. I can keep the socket on there. Hard to do this and film at the same time. Now hopefully with any luck, the pedals themselves will come out of the floorboard here. As long as they don't block the camera. Well, that one's moving pretty good. Success. There's the clutch pedal. And the brake pedal. Off camera, I removed the linkage for the accelerator pedal, which was close quarters. There wasn't any way that I could have filmed that. I also removed the cover for the top of the transmission. You can see that the four-wheel drive levers work easily. Overdrive is still frozen, and the transmission does go into gear, but it isn't very easily. In one of the previous videos on this Jeep, I took the cover off and there was a mixture of water and mud inside. It's kind of leading me to believe that it may have frozen and busted the case because, well, it's been sitting here in the garage and there's a puddle of fluid underneath, so I think when we remove this body, there may be a big crack in that case. I don't even honestly remember how I got this hood on here because I can't grab the fasteners from the inside and reach on the other side to get them, so I may have had help doing that. Just don't remember it. You see the parts are starting to pile up. From what I can tell in the front, it looks like there's only this body mount at the floorboard area, so hopefully it doesn't bust off in the frame. My luck's going too well for this so far. That body mount on the driver's side, however, has been ripped off. One less thing for me to unhook. There's a big project going on in my little hometown, so there's a lot of dump trucks driving by. It's probably ruining the audio. Rusted fastener. Really can't believe it came out of there. Hopefully I don't have to take a torch to any of these. Worked like a charm. Sometimes when you're working on a project by yourself, it's one step forward and 2 steps back. And that's perfect case with these rear bolts in this tub. Now I can't be underneath and up top at the same time, so this tailgate's going to have to be removed. But it's also a double-edged sword because this tailgate is adding structure to the rear half of this body. I think this will be the only panel that'll keep the sides from folding in like a big taco shell if I go to lift this off of here because it's so rusted. I don't really want to weld the head of the fastener to the floor because I'll just have to grind it out later. So for right now, it's time to get all these bolts out of here and temporarily remove this tailgate. It's got a square nut on the back side. A square nut and a 9/16 bolt on that side, and 1/2-inch fasteners on this one. Well, that gives me enough access, I guess, if I just fold it down. I don't think there's a fastener on the back side of this flange for the tailgate. I think that's just spinning inside the body, so we'll have to do it that way. I want to make sure I roll the Jeep all the way back where I can get that gantry crane centered right over the top of it. I think that's going to work just about there, and I can hook a chain to this roll bar. It seems like it's still firmly attached to the body, believe it or not, and maybe run a chain up underneath the front of this dash and go from there. This definitely isn't the heaviest body that I've ever lifted here in the garage. Sounds stupid, but I mean, if the rust holes are there and they're sturdy, you might as well use them. I've got the strap hooked there and one to the other side. So let's see if we can get this off of here without any major incident. That's why I rolled the frame all the way rearwards so I can pull it forward and then sit that tub back down to get it out of here. out of battery life, so while they were in the house charging, I took the body out of here, flipped the frame around, and pushed it back into the garage so I can get this engine and transmission out of here. I wanted to mention, before anything goes further, this engine does not sit directly in the center of the chassis. You can see it's over to the driver's side. I believe they done that so the oil pan would have clearance on the front end. But first impressions, this frame really doesn't look that bad. Well, at least in the rear section of it. You can see both of the frame rails look about the same. There's some scale on them. I really need to get the power washer and clean this up too. But there's no patches or anything in the rear section. You can see the crude homemade bumper they made back here. They had some mounts made. You see one or two of them have been torched bigger. But when we get up on the front of this frame, you can see that somebody has absolutely butchered it. I knew about this before, but you can see a patch on top of a patch. It looks like these have been stick welded to the frame. This one's been brazed. Now, nothing wrong with brazing. It's perfectly fine to make a repair if you know what you're doing. And that weld doesn't look too bad, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of stuff on the front of this that's been patched. You can see another spot down here where the steering box hooks on. I do not believe in any way, shape, or form that is a factory Jeep steering box. But again, you can see the back side of how things have been welded and their very crude steering setup that they've got. You can see the steering box. The pitman arm is flipped upside down. And then this piece of tie rod, I guess is what it is welded to a piece of steel rod with a gusset on it. This is in really rough shape, and I'm going to have to address this. The passenger side frame also in this area has a big crack in it. So, what I'm kind of trying to get at, if somebody out there has one of these CJ2A frames that's maybe bent in the back or it's rusted out, I will gladly buy, if we can agree upon a price, about a foot or so of frame rail on both sides. Now I really only need the driver's side, but I could get in here and cut it, and then splice on a new section that's not completely butchered up, and then plate it where I make the weld joint at. That's just a idea of what I've got so far. I really don't want to run that steering box because the way that steering is, it don't look like it's going to work very well, but let's get the camera set up and I'll get this engine out of here. It's worth noting, at least in my opinion, that both of these engine mounts are totally different. This side actually goes to a factory engine mount off of something, I guess an automotive application, but it's got a stud coming up and the fastener comes out through the top. On the other side, however, it's just a bolt that runs through into the frame with a piece of rubber in between, so somebody definitely cobbled this thing together. This side, of course, I couldn't get my impact in through the top, so I'm just going to use wrenches and take this one out. Luckily, the fastener isn't completely impossible to move. Okay, both of the bolts are out on this side. Now I got to get this cable forward just enough. It'll come out of that catch for it. So that's unhooked. Now it's time to move over to the passenger side. Both of the engine mounts up on these pedestals are removed. All four of the fasteners for the bell housing. You can see the smallest amount of gap in there. I think this engine's ready to come out of here. Well, that works too. About the time I go and get a bar, it pops out of there. the first strap that I was trying to use, it just wasn't working. I didn't want to get out this mile-long strap, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. The other one wasn't supporting the back of this bell housing, or the back of the engine rather, so all the weight was on it and it wasn't wanting to come off of the input shaft. So I've got this one on here. Hopefully it works better, and then I'll try to get this engine and bell housing out of the way. Some of you out there watching probably know how it is to have a haunted garage. I have no idea where my long chains are at. And there we go. The engine is removed and out of the way. Now it's time to tackle this transmission and transfer case. I didn't notice until earlier that's been brazed before, so that may have been broken in the past. I also realized there's a lot more debris on that input shaft. The clutch is full of rodent infestation as well. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not, but that sounds like gravel being stirred with a paint stick. So that transmission is not long for the world. I also notice you can see where there was some blue RTV, so somebody has been in here before. So I think I'm going to take the front end and rear end drive shafts out of here. I've got them soaking in penetrating oil. It looks like the transfer case is leaking because of the output seal, so I'm hoping there's not a big crack in it. So we'll get it out of here and maybe inspect it a little bit further. If you're a connoisseur of these CJ2As, please let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong or not. But from what I understand, the way it looks to me, the front and rear drive shaft are ambidextrous, where they can be swapped for one another. Now, I didn't get the tape measure out yet, but let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong or not. I'll still label them either way though, just in case. It's nice that everything was covered in oil for so many years, because I probably wouldn't even need to have used the penetrating oil. Everything's coming apart pretty easy. Knock on wood. There's the front drive shaft. I've got two chains on the transfer case and transmission combo to keep it level so it's not tilted one way or the other. I need to get in here and remove this bracket for the clutch linkage. Here's the piece of cable that went to the bell housing itself, and there is a piece of threaded rod on this side with L-shaped brackets that are made up. I don't think any of this stuff is really factory. I mean, it might have been close to something that was here at one point in time, but I think somebody really done a number on this stuff, so I'm going to get it out of the way. I got both of the lower transmission mount bolts off of here, so I think I just need to remove the one for the transfer case on the other side, and this unit should come out all as one. Hopefully. I know. Chrome sockets on an impact. That looks freed up. I think I'm going to get in here now with my air cutoff wheel and cut this piece of threaded rod. Well, never mind. I don't need to do that. Scratch that. Carry on. Okay, that's out of the way. There shouldn't be anything else holding this transmission transfer case in here. And yet again, we'll push the frame back out of the way. This frame is starting to look pretty bare, but I still have work to do. You can see how much debris was on the top of that skid plate underneath the transmission. Now this pedal setup that comes up through the floor, in all honesty, at this point I don't plan on using this. You can see that the clutch pedal, of course, is free. There's nothing really hooked to it. The brake pedal is about as froze as you can get. You gotta love the fixes that people do. You can see a nail in there instead of a cotter pin. Got a cotter pin on this side. The cotter pin doesn't want to come out of there, so just chop it off flush the best I can. There we go. Now I need to get these bolts out of here. There's one that goes all the way through the frame. This one's threaded into a bracket, so hopefully it doesn't break off. May just go ahead and get the impact for that one. I think that's what I'm going to do. That'll work too, as long as it's out of the way. That's loose now. I took my chisel and just chopped that nail because it didn't want to move. It was rusted up so badly. So I've got chopped flush on both sides. I'm going to try to run it through with this punch. Just about there. There we go. I may have to try to knock this cotter pin out on the end. I done the same with it. And this pedal should slide off of the rod like so. Here's the aftermath. The engine, transmission, transfer case, drive shafts, the body's been removed. I even got these pedals out of the way. Now, none of this stuff is getting thrown away. I'm keeping it in case I run across another Jeep. But this thing is pretty much stripped down as far as I'm going to go for now. And there you have it. The chassis is stripped down just about as far as it's going to go in this video. The next video on this chassis, I'll be cleaning up the frame, power washing it, and I'll more than likely get in here with a plasma cutter and remove the unnecessary bracketry that I'm not going to be using. I'll also check the condition of the front and rear differentials, and we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, there's no chocolate milk hiding behind those covers. But anyway, before the video is totally over, I greatly appreciate you all for taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. It really means a lot. It's kind of sad to think, and I'm not trying to guilt trip anybody, but YouTube sends me graphs on how the videos do, and normally I only get about 6% of you all that watch the videos from beginning to end. So if you're one of the 6%, I greatly appreciate you watching it all the way through. You know, a lot of time and effort goes into these videos, and especially working a 9-to-5 job. It definitely doesn't leave time for really anything else. But anyways, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I've got a lot of other ones in the works. The first ever subscribers in the spotlight, a video on my 63 Dodge, crew cab, the old rust bucket, four-wheel drive loader, the brand new forklift. I've got another video of helping Dustin. There's a lot of stuff filmed. I just have to go through and do all the editing. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a comment or a question down below. And as always, just a friendly reminder that it doesn't matter if you're working on your project in a garage or in your driveway. What matters is that you go out there, you do the job yourself, and you learn more about your project, whatever that project may be. Now that this video's over, how about you go out and work on something of your own? Anyways, my name is Zane, and I'll catch you next time.